We are just 1 week away from Election Day. Several Oklahomans will cast their ballots tomorrow as early voting gets underway. Voters will decide on leaders at the city, state, and federal level. This afternoon, we are very pleased to welcome back David Blatt, who's a professor of public policy at OU-Tulsa. David, thanks for being back. You know, you were here a couple weeks ago. We appreciate it, and we're excited to talk about this. Let's start off, though, by talking about local elections. A lot of people are focused on the House and the Senate nationwide, the governor's race. How important are local elections?
These elections are all important, and they don't get as much attention, particularly in a year like this where there is a race for governor and 2 U.S. Senate races and so on that we'll talk about. But we also have 3 city council races are in a runoff because none of the candidates was able to get over 50% on the first round. We have races for county commissioner. We have some judges races here locally. So all these, you know, they have a real bearing on people's lives. Even county assessor, how your taxes get assessed and administered locally. So these are races that people should be paying some attention to, but often get buried under the noise of the more prestigious races.
Yeah, and I've always heard that, you know, very local elections affect people maybe even more than some of these bigger ones do.
Absolutely. Certainly, you know, city council, if you really care about your trash getting picked up and what's going on in your parks or your streets, that's where those decisions are getting made.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the governor's race. This has a lot of attention. Democrat Joy Hoffmeister, Republican incumbent Kevin Stitt will be out full force this week. They have a lot of national people maybe coming in to rally for them. What has to happen for Hoffmeister to unseat Stitt?
I think the key for Superintendent Hoffmeister will be to narrow the margins in rural Oklahoma. I think it's clear that she will be strong in Oklahoma City, competitive in Tulsa, but in recent governor's races, Republican candidates, including Stitt when he ran for the first time in 2018, have won overwhelmingly in rural Oklahoma. You know, they've been able to run up margins of 20, 30, 40 points, and you just can't overcome those kinds of differences even with the large metropolitan areas. So I think that Superintendent Hoffmeister has really put a lot of energy. If you look at her campaign ads, they're all about those, you know, rural teachers and farmers and, you know, business people making a statement on her behalf. I think if she can keep the margins down to, she doesn't necessarily have to win rural Oklahoma, but she needs to keep it much closer in order to have a chance statewide.
Yeah, and there was a national poll yesterday that had Stitt up maybe 9, and so it's kind of going back and forth. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think, you know, there were a number of polls in a row that showed Hoffmeister up or it being very close. Don't know if that new poll is an outlier or maybe intentions to vote are moving in the Republican direction in the final days of the campaign.
Okay, we got 2 more questions for you today. Let's talk about the race for replacing retiring Senator Jim Inhofe. Republican Markwayne Mullin is running, as well as Democrat Kendra Horn. Both of those candidates have experience on Capitol Hill. What's the key to this race? How do you see this shaping out?
You know, I think Kendra Horn has run a good race. It's a real uphill battle as a Democrat running for statewide office. No Democrat has won a race for U.S. Senate since, I think, David Boren retired back in the mid-1990s. So she has a really tough road to climb. And, you know, unless something very unusual happens in the last week, I think Representative Mullin goes into this as the prohibitive favorite.
Okay, and then the last one. This one is kind of a polarizing one. It seems like I've seen a lot of ads about it, and it's something that we really don't talk about a lot, is State Superintendent. Joy Hoffmeister is leaving office, of course, to run for governor, as we talked about. The top 2 candidates in that, though, are Gina Nelson and Ryan Walters. Education, a big issue here in Oklahoma. This is an interesting race. How do you see this one panning out?
You know, I think it's similar to the governor's race. I think we're seeing a competitive Democrat who has a chance. There's a lot of concern in rural Oklahoma about proposals to implement school voucher plans, which a lot of rural residents see as being a threat to those rural schools that are the real bedrock of the community. So I think Gina Nelson has a chance, but like all other Democrats, has to overcome both a big disadvantage in terms of party registration and also, you know, it's a bad year for Democrats nationally everywhere.
Okay. All right, David, great advice, great insight, I should say. And thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Tatum, over to you.